Good evening, African Confessions. I am back with another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and the message reads like this. Hello, African Confessions. How are you? Can you please pass on this message so that it can be shared on your platform? I am a girl who is aged 21. My story goes like this. I am an orphan who was raised by my auntie, who took me in after the death of my parents. After my parents had died, there was no one who could take me in, even if, like I was told, that I had other rich relatives. But my auntie, as poor as she was the only one who stood up, and she said that she was going to take care of me, even if everyone had just abandoned me. When I was young, that is when my parents died. And my parents, they all died in a space of about 6 months. And after my auntie took me in, I stayed with her in the village. My auntie was just a regular village poor woman. She was a street vendor at our village marketplace. After finishing school, or let me say, it was just a matter of me accompanying other school kids to school, because on my side, even the teachers at the school that I used to attend back in the village, they knew that my auntie could not even afford to buy a pen for me. So what I'll do is that I'll just wake up in the morning. Sometimes I would even end up going to school without wearing any shoes, because I knew that even if I tell auntie that I didn't have any shoes, my school shoes were all torn, there was no way where auntie could buy those shoes. So in the end, I understood my auntie's situation, that we were just poor. I'll just end up going to school like that, without books, without a pen. I'll be just accompanying other kids to school. Even when I'll be in class, some kids will be busy taking notes as the teachers will be writing on the board, but me, I'll be just looking at other kids taking notes. Even the teachers knew that this was the situation that I was facing back home. So when I failed my matric exams, everyone just knew that this was going to happen. There was no way I was going to be able to pass any exams, because even before I wrote exams, even the teachers saw that if they keep saying that I had to repeat other grades, because the teachers at my school even tried to make me repeat grades before, but they saw that it was not working at all. That is why they ended up letting me to progress to other grades, even if I would have failed the previous year. That is how I ended up writing my own matric, but still I failed. After finishing my high school, there was no other option. I just stayed home, jobless. I stayed home for about 3 years. That is when one of my auntie's friend, she came, then she visited us. My auntie's friend, she was from the city. Growing up, we only knew that she was one of the few women who had gone to the city, and we were told that she had a very successful business right there in the city. I admired her a lot, because I heard that she was such an independent woman. And one day when she came back to the village driving a very nice car, I knew that this was the person that I wanted to be close to, and I had to travel back to the city. My auntie informed her about me. That is where she felt sorry for me, and she said that she was willing to offer me a job in the city. She said, this girl, I can see that she has that zeal and the energy to progress in life. She is unlike these other village girls, because at that time I was not dating any boy, and I was not doing any nonsense. The things that I will do is that early in the morning, I'll just wake up and I will do all of the house chores. Then I would go to church in our village. The church that is very popular is this certain Roman Catholic church. That is where I would spend most of my time. So when my auntie's friend came to the village, and when she heard that I had someone who had good behavior, she also told me that even her own relatives, after she had consulted with them, upon her return back to the city, she wanted me to go with her, and her own relatives had actually told her that I was one of the few village girls who still had good character. So she was so happy. After she came with me to the city, I stayed for about a week before I could start working, because she said I must start working, but first I had to change the way that I was wearing my clothes. She said, now that we are in the city, you don't have to wear these clothes so that everyone can see that you are just another village girl. You have to change your wardrobe. And I told him, Auntie, right now you are telling me that I have to buy all of these expensive clothes. Where am I going to get the money from? Right now, the only thing that I want is, if I manage to work throughout the month, at least at the end of the month, I'll just send my money back to my auntie so that she can be able to live a good life. I don't want her to be a street vendor anymore. But my friend's auntie told me that everything was going to be okay. One day after I had finished my duties, at that time I was working as a maid for my auntie's friend. In the evening, that is when she said bath. After I had finished bathing, I was embarrassed because she just walked into that room that I was staying, and I was naked. I had never seen another woman do that on any other woman, because she came and she stood so close to me, so close that I felt so uncomfortable. The way that she was close to me whilst I was naked like that, I didn't like it, but I didn't want to look as if I was disrespecting her. So I just looked outside. That is when she started looking at my body. She looked at my breast and she said, indeed, I can see that no man has ever touched your body. Indeed, you are a girl that has good character. After that, she then handed me some clothes. They were brand new designer clothes. Then she said, take these clothes and wear them. These are the clothes that you are supposed to be wearing tonight. I want to take you out. So me and her, we went out and we headed for this bar. Once we were inside, I tried to tell her that I am not used in such kind of an environment, but she told me not to worry. She just wanted me to have a very good time. After a couple of drinks, that is when she started forcing me to drink also. Because I didn't want to be a disrespectful girl, I said, let me just take one sip. I don't know if maybe she had already put something in that drink, because the moment that I took a sip, I kept on drinking until I was drunk. That was the very first day that I was drunk. After that, the next thing, when I woke up, I saw that it was me, auntie, and there was another man, a strange man. We were all in bed. And when I looked, I saw that I had messed up the whole sheets. Everywhere was blood, meaning that the man that we were with in bed right now, that is the man that had removed my virginity. I was so afraid. I didn't know what to do anymore. At that very moment, that is when I heard that my auntie was waking up. So I covered my face with a blanket because I was so embarrassed. My auntie and that man, they all woke up. Then they left me in bed. After a couple of minutes, they returned back from the bathroom. All along, I was just covering my face, pretending as if I was fast asleep. That is when I heard my auntie's friend speaking with that man. On that morning, I heard that man saying that because she was still a pure girl, I am going to give you at least money that was equivalent to 500 US dollars. He said that he had given my auntie's best friend all of this money simply because I was still a pure girl. My auntie's friend then walked that man out of her bedroom. Then she left me sleeping in her bedroom. I could not even wake up because I was embarrassed and I was feeling pain. After a couple of minutes, that is when she returned. And when she returned, she said, "Why are you still sleeping? Wake up." I woke up, but I was embarrassed. Then she said, "Do not be embarrassed. Don't you want to make money?" Then she gave me money that was equivalent to 150 US dollars. Then she said, "Here, collect this money. When you have healed, I want you to go and send your auntie back in the village some money. But never tell her that a man has given you this money. Just tell her that you have gotten a promotion at work. Anyway, thank you for keeping yourself pure all this while. I know that you are going to be rich like me one day. If you follow in my footsteps, you are going to be okay. But if you do not follow in my footsteps, I am promising you that you are going to return to the village, to your poverty-stricken life. What do you want?" At that time, since I was feeling so ashamed of myself, I just said, "I want to stay here in the city so that I can assist my auntie who is poor back in the village." At that moment, I think that is when I was transformed from being a village girl into becoming a woman, a city woman, because I had told myself that it is better that I sacrifice my own body so that my auntie who back in the village, so that my auntie who was back in the village and their children, they will be able to enjoy life. At that moment, all that I wanted was for my auntie's children to be able to continue with their own education. I wanted to provide with them. From there on, she gave me some medication. She said the medication that she had given me, it was for me to avoid falling pregnant for that man. Now I know that the pills that she gave me on that morning, they are the after morning pills, and I have used them a couple of times, many times. I don't even know how many times. Then she gave me some painkillers. After a few days, I was okay. That is when one day she told me that you are not going to be cleaning this house anymore. I will look for another girl. All that I want you to do is that when you are tired, because she told me that you will be working at night, meeting these different men. So she said, throughout the day, you can just rest in your room, and I am going to make sure that you have everything that you need in your room, like Netflix and stuff like that. I had everything. The only thing that I'll do is that whenever I'll be feeling hungry, I would just call a new maid so that she can prepare food for me. She was actually selling me out to all of these men. Then on this other day, she said, "I want you to go with that man. Do you still remember him? That first man that had you on that night when we went to the club. He just called me and he said that on that night he enjoyed you so much, but he felt so pity because whilst he was busy on top of you, you were drunk, you had passed away. So now he wants to have you again, but now he wants you sober. So when you are going to this man's house, yes, he might be drinking his alcohol, but do not touch any alcohol, because those are the conditions that he told me, that he wants you sober so that he can enjoy you without you passing out. Please, when you go there, behave nicely." Later on, that is when I discovered that this guy, he was actually a politician in our province. That is why my auntie told me that when you go to his house, behave in a nice way and do whatever he asks you to do. After I had finished bathing and preparing, then my auntie told me that there was someone who was here who had been sent to pick me up, and this guy, that guy who had been sent to pick me up at my auntie's friend's house, he was actually that politician's bodyguard. I got into the car. That guy was driving. He was actually rude. He never spoke with me. He never looked at me. He drove me off and he dropped me at that politician's house. After that, I was given a room. That guy told me that there were important people. I don't know who were those important people who were going to come and visit him at his house. He only said that these people that are going to come and visit me, they are not from this country. There were some sort of diplomats. I'm not sure where they were from. after showing me the room that I was supposed to be resting and waiting for him whilst he complete the meeting that he was going to be having with those foreign diplomats, I was not supposed to make a sound or anything. In that room that I was sleeping, there was actually a TV. I was actually watching this other movie, but the TV was on mute. There was a time when I was afraid. I thought that, what if this guy is going to come and hurt me? Why is he saying that I should not make any sound? Because he didn't want anyone to know that there was another woman in his house. I watched that movie, then I watched another movie, and when I looked at my phone, I checked the time and I saw that it was already late. It kept on bothering me, thinking why this guy is not coming into this room that I was in. I thought that maybe this guy, he was going to chop up my body. Maybe he was a ritualist or what. I didn't even understand what was going on. Brother Nashi, I slept alone in that room. Then in the early hours of the morning, that is when I heard loud noises that were coming from the next room, because I was so curious. And those loud noises that were coming from the next room, I immediately knew that those people that were in that room, they were busy having sexual intercourse. But it amazed me because it seemed as if there were a lot of men that were having sexual intercourse with a single woman, because the way that she was crying, she was not enjoying it. She was like someone who was in pain. You know, if you are a woman and you are busy having sexual intercourse with a guy who will be causing you pain instead of enjoyment, that is the sound that I heard that was coming from the next room. I was scared throughout the night. Then in the morning, that is when that guy, he came into my room. He was just naked. I think that this guy, he had forgotten to remove the condom that was on his manhood, because when I looked at him, I saw that on his manhood, I don't know if this guy was high on drugs or what. So when he walked into that room, he said, "How are you? How was your night?" And I said, "It is okay." That is when he handed me money that was equivalent to 1,500 US dollars, and he told me to go into town and freshen up. Then he said that he was going to call my auntie's best friend, because I was supposed to come back to his house. He told me that he was preparing something special for me. As I was walking out of the house, he told me that I should go outside, and already there will be a car that will be waiting for me, so that the person who will be waiting for me outside can drive me back to my auntie's friend's house. And as I was walking through the lounge area, I saw that there was another guy. This one, he was a white man, but he was not like those regular white guys, but he looked more like those white guys who are from Mexico. He was not a totally white guy. He was just sitting there in the lounge area. He was naked. He just looked at me, and on the table there was a lot of white powder. That is when I thought that these guys, they were busy taking drugs. He just smiled at me and he continued what he was doing. I walked out of the house and I got into the car. When that guy dropped me off at my auntie's friend's house, I just gave my auntie's friend some of the money. Then I asked her, I told her that I wanted to go into town so that I can send my auntie back in the village some money again. But I was lying. I returned back to the village and I told my auntie everything that had happened in the city. When my auntie's friend saw that I didn't return back home, that is when she called. The time that she called me, I was back in the village. She called in the evening. She was asking my auntie if she had seen me, and my auntie said no. That is when my auntie's friend started lying, said that there was this other friend of hers that had came over to the house, and that person had asked for a cleaner so that I can go there, wash his clothes and clean his house. But unfortunately, I had stolen some money. That is when my auntie started crying. She said, "I knew this. I had heard these rumors before that My friend, this is what she does in the city. She comes here in the village, then she collects all of these innocent girls, and when she goes into the city with them, we heard that she has a business in which she prostitutes all of these innocent girls. Brother Nashi, my auntie then made a plan for me. I actually had to run from the village because we were both afraid that maybe she was going to come looking for me at the village. I then went into another village where some of my auntie's relatives were staying. From there on, that is when I found another job. Right now, I am just working as a maid. So when I came across the channel and as I was listening to other confessions, I just thought that it is better that I share my own story, because this story, even the guy that I am dating right now, he doesn't even know this story. But whenever I think about this story, sometimes I just pray and I say, thank you, God, because I keep on thinking about that woman that I had screaming in the next room throughout the night. Sometimes I just wonder, what were they doing with that woman? Because as I was walking in the lounge area, that guy, that white guy that I saw sitting in the lounge area, close to him there were these handcuffs that are used by the police. So I don't know what they were doing to that woman. And when I had arrived in that village, that is when I realized that I had an STI. My private parts kept on itching and itching. I never told anyone. I just went to the clinic and I got some medication. They told me that the kind of an STI that I got, it cannot be treated. They said that it is called HPV. It cannot be treated. Even the time when I met my current boyfriend, after we started sleeping together without using any protection, after a couple of days, that is when he called me to his house. When I went to his house, that is when he said, there are things that are on my manhood that I don't understand, like there are small pimples that are filled with water. So these small pimples, what they do is that whenever me and my boyfriend have unprotected sex, those pimples, they will just come out on the shaft of his manhood, maybe after 3 days or 2 days. But these things, they can just last for 1 day or 2 days, then they disappear. But I didn't tell him. I just pretended as if I don't know anything. This guy that I am dating, he was married before, so he said because he had caught his wife cheating on him, he is suspecting that maybe his ex-wife is the one who gave him this HPV STI. But I am the one that came with this thing, because before I started dating him, that is when I felt that my private parts were kept on itching non-stop. And when I went to the clinic, that is when they told me that the symptoms that I was having, they were symptoms that were of HPV, and they said it cannot be treated. So this is the secret that I am keeping from my current boyfriend. And the reason why I could not tell him the truth, because he is promising to marry me. Actually, right now, he engaged me. And I am afraid that if I tell him the truth, that I am the one who came with this STI into this relationship, he will keep on asking me a lot of questions, and maybe he won't trust me anymore. And I am coming from a place whereby if he dumps me right now, I will be heartbroken. I don't want to go back to that place where I was before. It was not easy on me each and every night, sleeping with a different man and another woman, just taking the money that man would have given to you. She would just give you a fraction of the money. This is my own story. I listen to your channel almost on a daily basis when I am busy doing my work. Thank you. Dear listeners, right there was a message that we received from one of our listeners. Please let us try to speak with her in the comment section. If there are any nurses or anyone who is in the medical field, please can you also speak about this STI in the comment section so that we can learn more. Let us talk about this issue in the comment section. I'll be back with another episode.